千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we delve deeply into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. So this is a story from Zhuangzi. As you see at the bottom of this particular slide, there are different ways to tell the story. And storytellers of the Tao tradition would oftentimes like to dramatize the story and tell it in a particular way, a way that's not exactly the same as the way that Zhuangzi wrote it down in the original text. So let me tell it to you in that traditional storytelling way, and then I will also tell you how Zhuangzi wrote it down. So here's the story. Once there was a man who took a small boat out on the river, trying to cross over the river to the other side. Initially, everything was fine. The man rowed the boat, making steady progress to the other side of the river. Then he noticed there was another boat getting closer and closer to him, a larger boat. He was alarmed because he was right in the middle of the river. His boat was small. It could easily be capsized. The river had strong currents, so even a good swimmer would find it to be a dangerous river to swim in, might drown. So he was alarmed. As the other boat, the larger boat, is getting closer to him, he started yelling, "Hey, you're getting too close. Would you mind going around, please?" There was no response. So he tried again at a louder volume. "Hey, you're getting too close. What are you doing? Go around." There was still no response. Now it was getting dangerous because the other boat was bearing down on him. He yelled even more, but it was no use. The other boat bumped against him, rocking his boat. The man cursed loudly, swaying back and forth from the collision, trying to maintain his balance. Luckily, his boat did not take on any water. So he grabbed onto the other boat, and then he stood up, ready to give the other person a tongue lashing. "What do you think you are doing? You are an idiot." Then he saw that the other boat was empty. All along, it was just an empty boat, drifting aimlessly, flowing with the current of the river and running into him. So, of course, his yelling had no effect. Suddenly, the man's anger went away because, well, it's silly to get mad at an empty boat. That's actually the name of the story, 空船, the empty boat. Now, there is a lot that the story says about life. We're going to break it down. First, let me tell you about the way that Zhuangzi wrote it down. It's a little bit different. It conveys the same idea. The way he wrote it down was, imagine we're riding in a boat to cross the river. If an empty boat upstream comes drifting in our direction and bumps against our boat, even the most angry people will not be upset. They will only give this boat a push it away, to let it drift off, out of the way. On the other hand, if there is a person in that boat, we would call out to him, trying to get him to steer the boat in a different direction so we wouldn't collide and maybe capsize. Suppose he doesn't hear us the first time, so we yell out again. If he still doesn't hear us, now we're yelling as loud as possible, but he's still coming closer and closer. In this situation, even the most mild-mannered, even-tempered person will get upset and maybe even curse a lot. So why is there such a difference? With an empty boat, no one gets mad. When there's someone, we get really mad. We get really angry. So think, first of all, about the subtle shift that occurred. The overall event has not changed. A boat came across and bumped against your boat. That hasn't changed. What has changed is what's in the boat. And that somehow leads to a huge amount of difference. So you can shift from anger, even rage, to, oh, is that all it is? Well, I guess it's not a big deal. That is 转念. These two characters, 转 literally means to turn. 念 means thought. Turning your thought, changing your thought, shifting your perspective. And let me present this to you. 转念, 念, as I said, is thought. We have 恶念, which means bad thoughts, negative thoughts, a lot of negative energy. And this is all about anger. This is all about, getting upset, emotional turbulence. And then 善念, good thoughts, or at least peaceful thoughts. So here, I want to illustrate how we can go from one to the other very easily. In the story from Zhuangzi, 恶念, the angry thoughts is, who is that idiot? And think about how that's very similar to what we think about when we're driving on the road with road rage. Who is the idiot in that car, right? We find ourselves thinking that, even if we don't say it out loud. So shifting perspective, turning your thoughts into, oh, wait, the boat is empty. It's nothing. Just push it away. Suddenly, there's no anger. Why not? So notice how we get mad at people who should know better. In the context of the story, we think that if there's a person in the other boats, that person should know better than to bump into us. So we get mad. In daily life, we often get mad at people that we think of as, well, they ought to know better. Why do they do that? They should know better than that. We get mad at them. But a shift can occur if we suddenly realize, maybe they just really don't know. Maybe they simply do not know any better for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have the same information that you have. Perhaps they lack your education or your mental brilliance. For whatever reason, they just are not equipped to know better. Now, I mentioned that we say, who's the idiot in that car in a moment of road rage. It's actually something that I wrote about before, about a personal experience that I had getting caught behind a slow driver on the freeway. And it was a situation where everybody else was going real quickly except the driver in front of me. So I got really upset. I got really mad. But then when I finally had a chance to pass the slow driver in front of me, I turned to look at the driver, thinking I'm going to give him the death glare, right? I'm so mad. And when I turned, I realized that this was an elderly person that I knew and liked. It wasn't a stranger, it was someone I knew. Suddenly, all that anger just went away. So think about this. When there's a stranger in the car, that's like there being a man in the boat. People yell and get mad. But then when I turn and notice that it's actually someone that I knew and liked, it's like the empty boat. That's the empty boat right there. Suddenly, the anger just went away. So from that point on, when I'm caught in road rage again, thinking about the idiots on the road, what I think to myself is, wow, these could be my friends. These could be people that I know, or they can be people that I will have the chance to meet and be friends with at some point down the road. When that is the case, it is not so easy to think about them as idiots. So, who among them cannot be my friend? They may be a stranger now, but they all potentially can be a good friend. And then I also want to relate another personal experience. This is at the temple in the English study group. I knew this one gentleman who was part of that group. He had invited his English-speaking friends to the English study group at the Tao Temple. So everybody had a good time. Everybody was involved in all the activities that day, and then they all had lunch together. Then halfway through lunch, an Asian Tao cultivator approached the visitors, the friends that he had invited, and the Asian Tao cultivator asked them if they would be interested in going through the initiation ceremony. The visitors declined politely, and the Asian Tao cultivator went away. But this guy who invited them was annoyed. He was a little upset. He was saying, that was not good. Why do they want to push their religious ceremony on people who are just visiting for the first time? It seems like a very aggressive, high-pressure sales tactic. He was not a happy camper. At the same time, another member of the Tao study group, this lady who was much more experienced than the gentleman, said that, no, that's not what happened. He wasn't trying to aggressively convert people. The Asian Tao cultivator had just a well-meaning intention to share the Tao, something that he found to be very good and helpful. He wanted to share the three treasures of the Tao because it was so powerful. Now, the event did not change. It was the exact same event that they were both speaking to. But then the gentleman chose to look at it in a negative way, got upset. That's the man in the boat. The lady, a more experienced Tao cultivator, knew that she could shift her perspective, change her thoughts, look at the same situation, see the good in it. Suddenly, it's the empty boat. So this is a skill. When you fully understand, you will have the ability to let the anger go away naturally. Doesn't require any effort at all. And this is why it's important for us to bring up these examples pertaining to our topic today. 9:15, the violent one cannot have a natural death. So what Zhuangzi has taught helps us bring everything together. We know the Tao karma tells us that things will tend to end badly for those who resort to violence. That's just the way it is. If that is the way it is, then do we really need to get upset about it? Those who are violent are like the empty boat, drifting aimlessly, bumping into other boats. There's no measure of intelligent control. If we don't realize the idea behind this Tao Te Ching, we can spend a lot of energy condemning them and opposing them. Will it really change anything? People don't change, or at least they change very slowly. And the real question is, when you are upset at them, I understand exactly how that feels. I get upset too. But when we get upset, question, are we yelling at the empty boat? Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.